In the headlines, a national consultation to help village councils prepare a blueprint for climate resilience, a team of Cuban nurses to help reduce overcrowding at the PMH, and in sports, India widens the gap at the top of the ICC Test rankings. I am Andrea Louis with the Channel 5 News, back with the details after this.
Do you need more cash for that home improvement? Then come to Fast Cash, where we give you more. At Fast Cash, our customers get more funds and more time to repay. But wait, can't come to us? We'll come to you, and our mobile officer will get you on your way. Small businesses, consumers, and taxi owners, Fast Cash has more for everyone. Simply call or visit any of our locations for more, smarter, faster, better. Fast Cash. Terms and conditions apply.
Rudolph Thomas Enterprise in Portsmouth, your suppliers of building materials and hardware products. Over 20 years experience in the business. Rudolph Thomas has lumber and plywood, galvanized and fenced pipe. Check out Rudolph Thomas for ceramic and vinyl floor and wall tiles, nails, nuts and bolts, paint and painting supplies. And check out their line of electrical and hand tools. Go now to Rudolph Thomas on 1240 Bay Street in Portsmouth.
Thank you for staying with us. First up, the Dominican Nurses Association is discussing with its trade union the options available to them for better work conditions, including salary increase from government.
President of the Dominican Nurses Association, Nurse Rosie Felix, says there are multiple issues affecting the nursing sector here, which have driven nurses to greener pastures.
We have another season of nurses, leaving Dominica, in large numbers. And it's a combination of issues. I would say 50% definitely has to do with salary, and 50% a combination of other issues. We deserve a salary upgrade, there's no question about that, but as I said, it's not the only issue. It's not that it's not an issue.
Health Minister Dr. Kenneth Daru, who met with the executive of the DNA recently, said salary increase was not the primary focus of their concerns.
The nurses at the PMH in particular, that they would have asked to meet with the minister and the then PS at the time, Mr. Later, and we met with them almost immediately. I think a day or 2 days after that, they asked to meet with us. It's a general nursing body. I think it was a very good meeting where we would have made certain commitments to them. In meeting with afterwards, subsequently, with the leadership of the DNA, they did state the first thing, hey, it's really not a question of money. It's really not a question of money. It's some of these other little things that we've been asking for. Now, a lot, if not most, or all of these other little things that they've been asking for has been approved, and are going to be implemented in the next few days. All of a sudden, it has now become a question of money.
Nurse Felix referred to a consultancy report issued to government concerning revision of salaries for nurses, justifying that this matter is not new to the minister.
So in pushing for this, along with other stakeholders like the union and I think the Teachers Association as well, in fact it started when I was 10 years ago, and the government hired or contracted rather a consultation, a firm to do a job evaluation exercise. I don't remember exactly what year it started, if it's 2008 or 10, but about then. And in 2013, they presented their report to the government, and they justified the need for a salary upgrade for nurses. That report is sitting with the government that they have ignored, best way I can put it. The minister knows that a salary upgrade, that nurses have been asking for a salary upgrade.
Dr. Daru says he has advised the executive of DNA that the salary increase matter is part of a broader discussion.
There's a broader general discussion, ongoing discussion with the Public Service Union and the government, as I said. So I have told them that and reassured them that, of course, all of the recommendations will be taken on board. I'm pretty sure as part of the discussion. And I think I was also informed already in the media summit, I think they are now going to speak to the union so the union can advise them as to the next move.
In related developments, health authorities will assign a team of Cuban nurses to the Princess Margaret Hospital's Accident and Emergency Department to reduce overcrowding there. 20 nurses from the Spanish Caribbean states will arrive on the island soon to relieve the pressure on the country's health services as a consequence of nursing attrition. This agreement with Cuba comes following the health minister's visit there for the 3rd International Cuba Health Convention and the 14th Health for All Trade Fair.
While in Cuba, we took the opportunity to have a number of bilateral meetings, and of course, most notable would be with my colleague Minister of Health in Cuba. One of the main complaints that we heard from the nurses was the high patient to nursing ratio. Because of the shortage of nurses, some of the staff would have left. So in order to address this immediate problem, and I said immediate because it's not going to solve the medium to long-term issue, we need to continue our training. But in order to solve this immediate need, and I think you need to take note of that, we, the Minister of Health of Cuba, would have agreed to dispatch to Dominica almost immediately as soon as we're ready for them 20 qualified nurses to at least alleviate the plight, okay, this high pressure situation that some of the nurses are complaining that they have a lot of patients and that will cause a decrease in the quality of healthcare, etc.
Dominica's request for nurses from Cuba will consist of 5 midwives, 5 in-community health nurses, 2 in intensive care, 6 registered nurses, and 2 for the accident and emergency department, which has experienced overcrowding.
If we were to say strictly that emergencies be sent to the emergency room, okay, there would be no need for overcrowding. That's why a lot of times, and some patients feel slighted, and maybe rightfully so, because they would have probably waited hours before seeing the doctor, that some patients are now referred back to their health center or their primary health care doctor, because it would be an issue that would have been ongoing for maybe days, So the emergency room, really, as I said, we are now getting some help as it pertains to the nursing situation. Our number sign, I think it's going to be a sign. So hopefully that will allow for quicker triaging and screening of patients, etc. But I think really the public needs to understand that they should go to the emergency room when they have emergencies and not stuff that have been ongoing a headache for the past 8 weeks,
Acting Director of Primary Health Care, Dr. Fervier, and the Principal Nursing Officer, Ravaria, accompanied Daru to Cuba. On to parliamentary proceedings, a passionate plea from the Minister for the Environment and Climate Resilience for a collaborative effort by Dominicans towards rebuilding the country post-Hurricane Maria. The Honorable Joseph Isaac has reached out to the opposition, saying his door was open to them in an effort to work together for a stronger and better Dominica.
I'm therefore appealing to all Dominicans to come on board. I'm specifically asking the opposition members to embrace this new vision of a nationalistic approach to building back Dominica. Madam Speaker, I've articulated these sentiments after being on the ground throughout the length and breadth of Dominica, and as recent as this weekend, I visited Petit Savan to the end of Petit Savan, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, our focus in this country has to be about rebuilding, Madam Speaker. It cannot be anything else but rebuilding this beautiful island.
Isaac insists rebuilding Dominica will require all hands on deck.
In my new capacity as Minister of Environment, Climate Resilience, Disaster Management and Urban Renewal, I'm asking members of the opposition to feel free to come to me, even specifically the parliamentarians, to feel free to come to me so we can discuss the challenges in your constituency in regards to my portfolio, Madam Speaker.
Well, the opposition leader was caught by surprise when Prime Minister Skerrit stood to move a motion to allow Linton time to complete his presentation for the supplementary estimates. As Speaker of the House puts it, it was a historic moment as the Prime Minister and the opposition leader shared a laugh over it.
I don't recall ever sitting in this house.
Your time is up.
Madam Speaker, I move that 5 minutes.
15.
Don't overdo now. Oh my God.
Madam Speaker, I am offering the member 5 is as well 15. We'll have a compromise of 10. So I move, Madam Speaker, that additional 10 minutes be given to the member for Marigot, the leader of opposition, to make his contribution.
This is an historic moment. Can we be silent, please?
No member objected to the motion, which was seconded by Member of Parliament for Portsmouth, Ian Douglas.
Wow. Madam Speaker, I've been in this Honorable House since the 20th of February 2015. And this is the first time that a request for additional time to speak has been approved. I'm hoping, Madam Speaker, that this is the start of something new. Madam Speaker, I'm emotional. I'm emotional.
Neither Linton nor any of his colleague parliamentarians offered congratulatory remarks to their former UWP member Joseph Isaac in his new stint as government minister when Parliament convened on Tuesday. However, Linton took the opportunity to do it in a different way on Wednesday.
As you said, Madam Speaker, this is historic. I am emotional because it took our former colleague to cross the floor for me to be awarded 10 extra minutes to speak on a matter. And I want to congratulate him for that, as I would like to congratulate the Prime Minister for moving the motion.
You are watching the Channel 5 News. Stay tuned for much more after the break.
M&J Covering is the producer of designed galvanized and galvalume in Dominica. They design to your specifications, color and length, 4 styles of galvanized and galvalume pre-painted roofing sheets as requested, and supply all your galvalume accessories. M&J Covering helps you control spending and reduce waste. At M&J Covering, they are also equipped to build your roof to precise standards anywhere on island. So come to M&J Covering at 1 Mile in Portsmouth or call 445-5001 275-5003.
When persons with TB sneeze or cough, healthy persons nearby breathe in the droplets and the bacteria can lodge in their lungs. People with weakened immune systems such as HIV/AIDS, alcohol and drug users, smokers, children, and the elderly are most susceptible. Persons with a cough should take precautions when in contact with persons in public places. Cover your mouth when sneezing and coughing. Visit your doctor or health center. You must complete your treatment. TB can be cured even with HIV. Be responsible. Help stop the spread of TB and HIV. Protect yourself and others.
Welcome back. A national consultation to create a roadmap to help a village council develop climate resilience is expected to be held later this month. This is among activities for Local Government Month, which is being held under the theme Building Community Resilience Through Local Government.
We're saying that local government can be a vehicle through which this community resilience is built, right? So our theme is centered around that. And one of the major things that we have highlighted is that we're going to focus on a day. So every Thursday, we're going to call it Clean Up Day. So communities are going to clean up. And necessarily clean up and beautify. You know, we're talking about clearing the drains that you have and stuff like that. Yes, beautification, but also to look at how do we prepare and mitigate. So you clear the drains, you clean the drain, you block the culverts in your community.
The national consultation for local government authorities is expected to further enhance the country's move towards becoming the first climate resilient nation in the world.
One of the things that we're hoping to have is a national consultation for local authorities on climate resilience. We believe that is where we're going to explore and maybe come with a roadmap as to what is it that the councils, what is expected of the councils as we move into this whole mechanism of building community resilience to climate change and adaptation. So we're hoping we're going to look at a number of presentations, and at the end of it we'll come up with something that we say, okay, that is the framework for the councils as far as this is concerned. Of course, we're looking at our partners, and other stakeholders as well.
A special climate change adaptation project funded by the Jeff Small Grants Program is scheduled to be launched in the Southeast later this month. TUSA is warning the public that preparation for disasters should be a year-round practice, not just at the start of the hurricane season.
I want our people to begin to focus on the fact that disaster management is a year-round thing and not necessarily a June to November.
Member of Parliament for the Grand Bay constituency says all steps are being taken to prepare the area for the 2018 hurricane season, which is just 4 weeks away. Honorable Justina Charles says financing has been secured for cleanup projects to help protect the community from the ill effects of adverse weather.
I know the Grand Bay Village Council has already started meeting. What I have also done too is that we have identified some of the drains, some of the areas in Grand Bay that we need immediate attention, and I've gotten approval from the Minister of Finance to use some funds to be able to open up drains and clear overhangs and those kinds of things, so that at least people will feel that at least if it rains, my house will not flood because the drain is clear and patent, so water can flow easily. So we are doing that.
The MP pointed out that increased sensitization and refurbishing of the constituency's emergency shelters are top on the cards.
Now, one of the things that we have to do is a lot of sensitization to speak to the people. We are also looking at some of the hurricane shelters that we have. The main hurricane shelter we have in Grand Bay is the community center. Now, the community center is being repaired now as we speak. BNTF has a project where we are going to concrete the roof, but they're hoping that they will complete it before the 1st of June. And work is going on feverishly on it. I am also looking at the youth center, Youth Enterprise Center in Grand Bay. We have 3 buildings, 2 of which we are awaiting a structural integrity report to see whether we can cast as opposed to put in galvanized on the roof, so that in the event of any disaster like hurricane, like Maria or close to that, at least people know that there are areas that they can go and shelter.
Charles says almost 8 months after Hurricane Maria, she is pleased with the progress of restoration in her constituency.
Satisfied to a certain extent with the amount of work that has happened. When I walked through Tetmon, because I remember going through Tetmon and Mountain 2 days after the hurricane, and when I went there, I was honestly depressed, seriously depressed, when I saw the level of devastation. And now when I go up to Tetmon and Mountain, I feel good to see the amount of people, some of them individuals who have on their own repaired their houses, some of those that we have worked with as government to help in assisting, to help in repairing their homes, and their own effort and the energy, the enthusiasm with which they go out there and try to help themselves.
And since his decision to become an independent member of parliament and subsequently taking up a ministerial post in the Labour cabinet, Joseph Isaac has been chastised and vilified on social media. But his colleagues on the government side of the aisle seem to have welcomed him with open arms. The Prime Minister himself has congratulated MP Isaac for distancing himself from what the Prime Minister views as a narrow view of governance.
What Honorable Isaac has done, and I really congratulate him for his foresightedness and his conviction that he recognized that he has a contribution to make to Dominica. And he could bring to bear his skills and talents to the service of Dominica. And you have recognized, Madam Speaker, that we did not take what the vision that we have expressed about working together. We'll always have differences. There'll always be differences among ourselves. But there must be some things that we can agree on, that we can do for the benefit of every Dominican.
I've known him for a very long time, and we have always maintained a very close and cordial relationship. In fact, I can remember, Madam Speaker, it must have been about 4 or 5 years ago, almost to the date. I'll tell you why I remember it so clearly, because I was attending the Charismatic Conference, which is on in Portsmouth this weekend. It was in Pottersville at the time, at the Goodwill Parish Hall, and I went to have lunch at my Boyd's during the break on Saturday. I went to have a breath. And the honourable member expressed to me his intentions to come into politics, Madam Speaker. And I remember advising the honourable minister, who was then at the time thinking about politics. And I always told him that politics is about nation building. Always put your people first, and I'm happy, Madam Speaker, today that the member has taken a decision that clearly indicates that he wants to put his people first. He wants to work for the well-being and the development not only of the people of the Roseau Central constituency, but of Dominica in general.
This decision to now serve in the government of Dominica was really not an easy one, I can imagine. But it was a selfless, Madam Speaker, brave and patriotic, a real patriotic decision to come across. And clearly, as I said, Madam Speaker, his desire to serve his country, first and foremost, his country, Madam Speaker, was clearly not being achieved and was never going to be achieved, Madam Speaker, by remaining with the former parties.
When Deputy Prime Minister Reginald Austrie stood up in Parliament on Tuesday to share congratulatory remarks, the House was understandably amused.
Madam Speaker, it was not an easy decision for him, as he himself said, that he's been pursuing this thing for a whole year, trying to convince his colleagues that it was time to, former colleagues, well, he's independent, he's an independent candidate, to hang up the gloves of destruction, Madam Speaker, and come together to seek to rebuild Dominica, particularly after Maria. Madam Speaker, you know that the minister and myself were very adversarial, both in the Parliament and outside of the Parliament. But, Madam Speaker, I've always found that in making his contributions to the Parliament, he was always very objective and tried to put his best point of view forward. And many of them on the other side attempted to, but, Madam Speaker, particularly when one particular member of the opposition was out of the House.
That's news. Stay tuned for your sports highlights with Kenny Williams.
On the basketball scene, where the efforts of Kiefer Francis and Aaron Hippolyte helped put Dominica State College in a dominant position in the school's Under-20 Basketball League on Tuesday. Defending champions DSC finished 56 points ahead to defeat Dominica Grammar School 99-43 in the male category. Kiefer Francis netted a well-deserved 24 points for DSC, which included 5 rebounds and 3 assists. Aaron Hippolyte closely supported with 20 points, 4 rebounds and 7 steals. Rashad Joseph also came in with 16 points, 6 rebounds and 5 steals. In a losing effort, Dominica Grammar School's Cameron Leatham added 11 points, 3 rebounds and 1 assist, while Hazani Dow contributed 15 points to their team's fightback. The league moves to St. Joseph on Thursday, with St. John's Academy going head-to-head with Pierre Charles Secondary School. Starting time is 3 p.m. On the cricket scene, West Indies fast bowler Ransford Beaton has been suspended from international cricket following a failed independent assessment of suspect bowling action last year. The ICC has suspended Beaton following a report and assessment of his action during an ODI against New Zealand on December 24. The suspension will be recognized and enforced by all cricket boards for domestic events under their jurisdiction, but Beaton may play domestic cricket in the West Indies with the consent of his governing cricket authority, CWI. Beaton will join CWI's ongoing fast bowling camp in Antigua as part of his remedial program, following which he will undergo reassessment. Giving feedback on Beaton's suspension, Cricket West Indies Director Jimmy Adams says CWI is fully committed to working with Ransford during this period of remedial work, which will hopefully accelerate his successful readmission to the professional game. Next up, head of the Honorable Kelva Daru Basketball League says plans are in place to ensure the smooth running of the competition. Responding to a question about the reliability of match officials for games, UD John says the people on the committee are committed to the cause and have put plans in place to ensure the league will go on smoothly. Last year, a number of DABA League games were inadvertently called off due to a lack of commitment by some match officials, where referees would have been scheduled to officiate but failed to show up at the matches.
The officiating aspect of it was not shot, As a matter of fact, Honorable Daru spoke about the commitment of the people on the committee. And what we've gone on to do is set up subcommittees within the committees and give persons various roles and responsibilities. And I can report that we have a pool of referees and a pool of table officials for this league. And we are set and ready to have the league running.
Meantime, the main league sponsor pointed out the feedback he has received ahead of the HKDBL is encouraging.
I'm sure after, when this news release goes out, I'm sure Yudi and Ms. Harry, they may get several phone calls of teams wanting to join. I'm not sure how they'll handle it or manage it, but I'm sure that will happen because you can feel the enthusiasm. And I have been around the country. I have seen basketball being played at half cut up at Bath Road. There has been some basketball being played up at the Goodwill place, but there's no lighting up there. Some of the young men in the Peachland area and so forth. But really and truly, I think this is something that the young men across the country will be excited about. And like you mentioned, we have teams from across the country, from the north all the way down to the south, southeast area. And I think this augurs well for the sport, and it also augurs well for the engagement of our young men in getting the sport back to where it was before Hurricane Maria.
The Honorable Kelva Daru Basketball League is scheduled to begin on Saturday at the St. Joseph Hart Court at 6:30 p.m. Sports continues on the east with some football action where the Bulver team from Grand Four defeated the visiting We United 1-0 in the Grand Four Football Cup over the weekend. Javid George was the star on the field when he scored a decisive goal to help give his team the win on home ground. In the third place game, we can tell you that South Fair City defeated Backstreet Bar and Grill 2-1. Kimon Coffey and Scotty Phillip netted one each for South Fair, while Ted George was the lone goal scorer for Backstreet. The league is expected to begin in 2 weeks' time and will feature approximately 10 teams playing over a 6-week period. Finally, India is now the #1 test team by a larger margin than they were last month. ICC's annual update to the rankings, which happens on May 1 each year, suggests India have gained 4 points after the update, while South Africa dropped 5 points. This means the gap between the two has increased from 4 to 13. Bangladesh, meanwhile, has broken into the top 8 of the test rankings for the first time ever, going past West Indies, which has dropped to a record low at number 9. That's all the sporting highlights for now. I am Kenny Williams. Be sure to join us next time.
To end the news, the headlines again. A national consultation to help village councils prepare a blueprint for climate resilience. A team of Cuban nurses to help reduce overcrowding at the PMH. And in sports, India widens the gap at the top of the ICC test rankings. Feel free to contact us at news@marpin2k4.com. You can also access our past newscasts on our YouTube channel. On behalf of the entire production team, I am Andrea Louis, and to all of our viewers around the world, thank you so much for watching. Join us tomorrow.